YouTube. So I know that I totally left you hanging, and I'm so sorry. Surrogacy just consumes your life for so long, like every single aspect of it. And it's not just the 9 months that you're pregnant, for months before that, and then your recovery after. So I just felt like I needed this break, and the break's over. So I am ready to fill you in on what happened after I last spoke with you guys. My last video, I left off in my hotel room the morning before the C-section, freaking out. I was so nervous about the entire C-section, the whole process of it, from beginning all the way to the recovery. I was really, really nervous. So I was by myself in the hotel room. My husband was bringing my 2 boys to my mom's house so that she could watch them. I was in communication with the dads that morning. I was letting them know that I was supposed to be there at 10:15 to check in. And I was letting them know that they didn't have to be there at 10:15. There's so much stuff that has to happen before the C-section. So it was, like they didn't have to sit there and wait type of a thing. The C-section wasn't scheduled until 12:30. So I knew there was going to be like quite a long time. And because I wasn't an emergency C-section, because I'm scheduled and there's no urgency, other patients who have an emergency C-section or have some type of issue that comes up will, bump me back and they get priority. They were able to have their family drive up, since we did have a notice. It was like, 24-hour notice that we were gonna have the C-section. They were able to have their family drive up from Boca. So they had, both of them had their parents and their sisters there, which is so awesome. When they finally did arrive at the hospital, they stayed down in the cafeteria for a while I was still getting prepped and everything ready and being pushed back and pushed back. They put me in the recovery room while I was actually waiting to go back, and they got them a recovery room that was right next to ours, so that we could be close, and that after, when the babies, came and everything, that we would still be really close together. So that, for me, was really neat that they could, we could all be there together. While we are waiting, I let the hospital staff know that a surrogate friend of mine had saved 100 ounces of breast milk so that the twins didn't have to supplement with any formula between the time that I had the babies and that my milk comes in. We had decided on not nursing, months before, and that this is going to be the plan. And while we were waiting to get everything situated for the C-section, the hospital let me know that they don't allow any outside milk. So we were really disappointed. We kind of felt like, oh, our whole plan is kind of, blown out of the water. But the IS asked if I would be willing to nurse the twins for that transitional time. And of course I said absolutely. Also, my sister got there, who's a photographer, who was planning on taking pictures of the whole, process. We asked the staff how many people were going to be allowed back into the OR with us. I'm sure if you've listened to any of my other videos, you know that it was kind of up in the air the whole time, depending on the anesthesiologist, depending on the OB that was on staff that day, how many people were going to be allowed back with me. And at the hospital, they told us that they were only going to allow one person back to the OR with me, and the IFs said, absolutely, your husband, your support person, the person that's been supporting you the entire pregnancy should be the person that's supporting you, you know, during the C-section. So my husband was the one who was going to come back with me. They got me all prepped. You have to like wipe yourself down with these antibacterial wipes, and there's like a whole long process when you're going in for a planned C-section. So they got me all prepped and got me all ready, and you know, they wheeled me back, and I was totally freaking out internally. Like, this was really scary. But I held it together, and I think the one part that I was most nervous about was the spinal, because I mean, I've had 3 kids before, and I've had epidurals with all of them, but in that moment of, you know, asking for your epidural, you're in so much pain that you don't care. Like, the thought of the epidural itself is not intimidating because you're in so much pain that you're like begging for it at this point. So the thought of like just sitting there getting this, you know, spinal really, really freaked me out. But after the fact, I had which I wish this was before, I have an anesthesiologist friend who explained to me that an epidural needle, hi kitty, is completely different than a spinal needle. So the epidural is something that is on a continuous drip, and it could go for as long as you want it to go. So for that to be able to happen, for it to be able to go as long as you need it, they need to insert a catheter into your spine, which, you know, the medication goes through whenever you need it. So therefore, the needle for the epidural is a lot thicker, and it's hollow so that they could push that catheter through. For the spinal, it's a complete opposite. It's just a shot, and you get it, and it lasts for, I think it's 2 hours. That's it. That's all you get is 2 hours of numbness. And because it's not continuous and they don't need to put that catheter through, it's a super thin needle. It's still, you know, really long, but it's super thin and skinny. So that made a lot of sense, because the spinal that I got, it was painless. It was easy. It was nothing that I thought it was going to be. This is what I'm dealing with right now. Hi, Go-Go. Say hi. She's trying to distract me. So the spinal was painless. It was, I mean, I did work myself up pretty bad for it, but at the end there was like nothing. It was completely fine. So after they give me the spinal, they let my husband in, and they're testing to see, you know, can you feel this? Can you feel this? And it took longer than what I expected. But eventually I was numb, and I was really nervous about that. Like, could you just, you know, test me one more time to make sure that I don't feel that? I'm afraid that they were going to like cut into me and I was going to feel it, and it was going to be awful. So yeah, they checked me to make sure that I'm numb, and everything was good. And the hospital that I went to, well, the group that I went to, USF, is, and the hospital, Tampa General, they're teaching hospitals. So for every doctor, there was an intern also. So there was like double of everything. But they're both OBs were letting me know like everything that they were doing, you know. And my husband was ready with the phone to text my IFs and keep them updated. And within minutes, you know, baby A was out. And screaming straight away, like screaming. And everybody who's had a baby knows that those screams are like that. You hold your breath until the baby, you know, starts crying. And she came out straight away screaming and crying. So that was like, huh, okay. Her name was Juliana Rose, and she weighed 4 pounds, 15 ounces. So the ultrasound techs were right, and she was, you know, really small for being 1 day shy of 37 weeks. So I was 36 weeks, 6 days, the day of the C-section, and she was 4 pounds and 15 ounces. So that is relatively small. Within, I don't know, a couple minutes, it wasn't long, baby B, the boy, came out. His name was Samuel Daniel, and he was 6 pounds, 8 ounces. So the size difference between the two were, you know, pretty big, the size difference. He also came out crying like right away, so that was awesome. And my husband's texting them, letting them know, you know, like, baby A is out, you know, she's healthy, she's crying, you know, everything looks good, and you know, baby B is out. And it was probably like, it was just a minute. I mean, they wiped the babies down, they took their APGAR test really quick, weighed them, and they took them immediately to the recovery room to meet their dads. And my sister was in the recovery room with the two dads. They had had their family wait outside so that they could have a chance to meet the babies themselves first. But my sister was in there with them, and she got some amazing pictures of them meeting their babies for the first time. They're so sweet. I'll share them with you. Then they had their family come in, you know, and meet the babies. And meanwhile, I mean, anybody who has a C-section knows that having the babies is the fast part. It's, you know, getting put back together, that takes forever. So Ricardo and I hung out in there for a while, and then they wheeled me back to the recovery room, which was right next to the guys. And they came over and had me meet the babies and let me nurse the babies, and they were so perfect. They were just the cutest little babies. Everything about them was just so perfect, and their dads were so in love. It was like, that's the reason that you do it. Just to see the parents with their babies is life-changing. As a surrogate, that's what you do it for, you know, like, that's the moment. That's what this is all about. They gave us rooms right across the hall from each other for the remainder of our stay. So that was really neat, and every time that the babies needed to eat, they'd bring them over to me, and I would nurse them, and I'd, you know, get to hang out with them and the dads and stuff. I, you know, recovered very well. I didn't have any issues with the C-section at all. I mean, pain, of course, but that's a given. Everything with the babies, they were super healthy. They got released like 2 hours before me. I had to stay so long with the C-section. I was out like as soon as they let me go. But I think they left around the 40-hour mark. I was pumping on top of nursing them in the hospital so that I was able to send them home with some colostrum. And then I also sent them home with 100 ounces of milk that the hospital wouldn't let them use while in the hospital from my surrogate friend. The Surro twins are 5 months old as of yesterday. I feel like this was just like a month ago, but it's been 5 months, and they're hitting every single milestone. They are thriving. They're doing so wonderful. They're smiling and, you know, rolling over and growing and growing. I have complete open communication with the dads, And they update me after every pediatrician appointment, and they send me pictures all the time. I'm still pumping for them, so I send milk out, you know, whenever they, my cat. So I send milk out whenever they, you know, need more. I'm trying to keep up with the demand of twins. So far I'm doing okay. I'm a high producer. So far I have been able to keep up with them. I have a deep freezer full of it. So hopefully, I mean, we have kind of like just an ongoing understanding of they, you know, I'll pump as long as they want me to, and they'll give them breast milk as long as I want to pump. So it's kind of like whoever's done first type of a thing. We have spoke about a sibling journey. Nothing is set in stone, but they see themselves as a family of 5. So that's a possibility. Until then, I'm just going to pump and pump. I'm also donating to Preemies Milk Bank for the preemies, like I did after the last surrogate journey. So yeah, I mean, that's it. Everything went perfect. Again, another perfect surrogacy journey in the books. I couldn't be happier with the way that things turned out. I love the relationship that I have with the dads. We went on vacation, and we passed by their house on the way back. We went down to the Keys, and they live in South Florida. So on the way back, we stopped and we visited them, and I got to see the babies, and it was so awesome seeing them there in their element, you know, like as fathers, and oh, and the babies are so cute. So yeah, I mean, that's it. There's the story. I'm so glad that everything turned out the way that it did. And I will keep you updated if there is a journey number 3. Thank you so much for taking this journey with me. Hopefully I have helped in some way, whether it be knowledge-based or emotional-based, or answering questions that you have as a surrogate, or, you know, as the whole process goes. If you guys ever have any questions about anything, please feel free to comment, and I will do the best that I can in answering you based on, you know, everything that I do know. So until next time, thank you so much again.